All right. Today on the podcast, we have the three co-owners. Is that correct? Of Synergy Custom Fitness. We have the CEO, Alex Huron, Carlos
Thank you.
Sanchez, and then Chris Sanchez. Guys, thanks for taking the time to do this. I'm very excited to hear you guys' story. It was great to meet you guys at Home Gym Con last year. Would each of you mind just kind of going on in a line, saying who you are and maybe your role, maybe expand on your role within the company?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'll start if you don't mind. Let me start off. I really enjoyed your podcast with Rich. It really resonated a lot where I'm at in my stage. Not necessarily what he went through as a business owner with fitness, but I've been in manufacturing for close to 35 years. And the clients that we typically have, or I have worked for, had been like Macy's, Neiman Marcus, Saks, Dillard's, LVMH, the beauty products that you see in a retail department store. That being said, I've gone through 9/11. I've gone through the housing market crisis. And if you go back 4.5 years, I experienced COVID. Now, going through COVID was a little unique because a lot of the retail space just went down. We went from 30 million a year down to 2 million a year. You can imagine that was pretty devastating. 310,000 square feet facility, 250 employees. You know, we treat our employees like family. So we went with the mindset thinking, man, this is going to last 4 weeks. This can't last longer than that. Fast forward, uh, almost a year later, we were in a pinch. So what we started to do is, if you remember back then, they started selling sneeze guards to put in retail stores or essential locations. So we started manufacturing sneeze guards and selling them on Amazon. So we were selling about a million in a month. We did that for about 2 or 3 months. So that actually opened my eyes to, well, I think we can go direct to consumer. Again, long story short, my passion is fitness. I've loved working out since I was like 17, 18 years old. So what I did is I called Carlos and I told him there's a market here. I really want to go into the fitness equipment, but target the consumer. Those individuals that at that point in time, if you remember through COVID, they shut down gyms. Some gyms in California, New York were working out outside. So there was a need for gym equipment and gym storage within the community. So what I did is I contacted Carlos and I told him there was an opportunity here. And I'll get a little ahead of myself. I This book, Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you've read this book. I used to go. Well, I still go to Patrick Bet-David's seminars. 4 years back, I read that book and I realized, you know what? Even though there's a market, we just don't want to just go in with selling just a squat rack. And Carlos will show you. There's a squat rack that we did, one of the prototypes that we did. So that would be a good segue on where we went to. So that's basically my story. I'm the CEO. What we do is we manufacture 100% in the United States, and we manufacture in my facility. So we have the metal department in my shop is about 60,000 square feet. So all of the work, we bring in the raw material and is manufactured in-house. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool, cool. I don't want to speak too much. I'll let them get to their story.
Yeah, so I think it's probably good to mention. So we all related, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, so I married Alex's sister about 27 years ago,
Okay.
and out of that came Chris because he's my son.
Okay.
So, but I got a phone call from Alex probably 2.5 years ago, and I was in the HCM industry, human capital management. I was doing that for a large company, and been doing that for over 10 years. in that space, and the opportunity came on a moment that it was most needed. The company that I was working for, there was a private equity firm that came in, brought a new CEO, all new leadership came in, and they brought all their new people and replaced all of us that were there just from one day to another, just like that. And when I got a phone call from Alex, I was in the middle of negotiating a deal with a new company for a new contract to go work for another company for one of the competitors that I was working in the market that I was in. But needless to say, made the decision after sitting with Alex and looking at the opportunity, doing some research that I really wanted to get into the space. I saw the opportunity because of COVID. And this was probably a year and a half, 2 years after COVID. This was probably 2022, early 2022, when we started talking. My role, I run all operations. I'm all in. I'm here in the shop. I live here pretty much day in, day out. I wear several hats, and so that's what I do. I'm the CEO for the company.
Yeah, and I'm Chris. I am the CMO. I run all the marketing, and I'm 25 years old. I'm a recent graduate from BYU. Graduated about 10 months ago. And about 2 years ago, when I was in college, I was in need of an internship. And so I actually reached out to my dad, and the stars aligned because I didn't know that this was going on in their end. And they extended the opportunity to me. And so that summer I came out here, spent 2 to 3 months right at the birth of Synergy. And it feels like my baby because at the time, I came up with the brand kit, with the logo, with the website, everything, all the marketing material. And so once that internship was over, went back to college, and they extended another opportunity to me to have equity in the company. And so at that point, I actually brought on my wife as well. She manages all the social media, all the content creation. So you actually probably see her more than you would see me, and you hear her voice all the time on all the ads and stuff. But so we were working remotely. And then once I graduated, my wife and I made the decision to pack our bags and come out over here and do this full time. And so now it's been 2 years, and it's been a pretty awesome experience. So
We're trying to convince him to go bold, shave his head off.
Yeah, go with the family move.
Right.
Carlos, I'd be curious to hear what that research looked like when you were originally thinking about this, and so original research, and then what was your gut when Alex originally said something to you? Was it actually like, okay, yeah, let's do it?
No, no. I had a pretty good offer on my hands. I had a very steady job leading up to that, and so the thought of changing industries was a little scary. So no, the answer was no to that. But we sat down. Alex has always been an innovator. He's always been kind of a visionary, almost, if you can say that. So I was very interested to sit down with him. So I came, we sat down, we spoke. And when I came to meet Alex, he immediately started talking about this squat rack that they have kind of designed and build a prototype for. And we were looking at it together. And man, he was talking about it like if it was his child.
I'm still smiling. I'm looking at it, and I got a big smile on my face.
And I'm like, okay, all right, that's great. Let me do some research. And I'm telling you, it was maybe 2 months of pure researching. And one of the things that I did most was I was looking for every company out there that was selling squat racks, and I was going straight to the reviews, and I was reading reviews from clients, positive reviews and mostly negative reviews. And I came to a conclusion. It's going to be very hard to market this. There's so many companies out there that are so good at this and that have been doing it for so long, and they're so deep in the market that it's going to take a lot of money for us to even break any share of the market. So the idea continued that in reading and researching this, I've learned two things. One, that we don't want to compete against those that were already selling squat racks, especially if we wanted to made in America, because price point was just not going to be there. And second, I learned a few things. And I learned that customers, by reading all these reviews, customers wanted three things. They wanted, there was an issue. I found that there's an issue in the home gym community, even commercial gyms. There's a lack of space. Everyone, that's the number one problem most people have. They lack space, and they're looking always to for space-saving equipment. Number two, I also learned that people want to get more for their product. They want multifunctional equipment. They don't want stuff that just it's only good for this and nothing else. They want to be able to add more to it and get more value from it. And then third, I learned that in the fitness journey, everyone has their own, and everyone starts at the same place, but not everyone ends or is at the same phase in their journey. So, and one thing I've learned is that as the journey increases, people have the need to also improve and change their equipment. They start with just a couple dumbbells and just a bench maybe, and then they add the squat rack, and then they add more and more, and then functional trainers, and then storage. So it's kind of a journey that goes as time goes by, and as the commitment continues to fitness, it goes there. So we knew that we needed to come up with a product or line of products that will meet those three things. It will be space-saving, multifunctional, and expandable. Can we make something that can expand,
That can grow with
that can grow with the client? So when they find a need to improve it, to grow it, they wouldn't necessarily have to get rid of what they bought initially, but can they add to it?
And Jake, as you can imagine, storage isn't sexy, right? So
We learned that.
So at this point in time, we have how can we create a storage space saving that can be useful and, for lack of a better word, sexy. Something that's I would say Chris's most difficult job is how can we educate the client? Because again, it's not your typical A-frame or your typical just rack that you find in Amazon. We didn't want to compete with the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world. We wanted to be just be high quality, made in USA. I think all of us are very patriotic. We want to keep the production here in the United States as best as possible, and be able to grow off that. Again, we have the ability to grow. As we grow, we're able to add additional resources. Again, right now, I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself, but we have a few laser machines, press brakes, welders, in-house powder coating that's done in-house. And funny story, we were actually reached out, I would say about a year and a half ago, with the Florida Panthers. They were trying to build a sled. And again, they send us a picture. We want this sled, but we want to make these changes. Again, we're very customer service driven. Even if it would have been a mom and pop down the street, we would have serviced them as much as the Florida Panthers. So we went a couple of weeks back and forth with some design changes, got their colors right, produced them, and I think because of that, they won the Stanley Cup championship. So that's just my interpretation of it.
That was the only route.
Yeah.
That had to have been it.
Yeah.
Okay. Carlos, what kind of resources were you looking at? And then also, if you could also just expand on what were some other options that you wanted to create for your first product as opposed to storage, which, by the way, storage may not be sexy, but you can't really have a sexy gym without having storage and having organization. So just want to throw that in.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for saying that. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Um, man, I became so almost obsessed with um, knowing who the competitors were and visiting their sites. And I spent 2 to 3 months where for hours and hours a day, I will just read reviews, as I mentioned. I think that's the best way to learn because that's when you hear from the customer. That's when you hear from the consumer, the person using the product. Description of products and websites and things like that. I mean, they're made to sell the product, right? They're not really going to tell you what the issues are with the actual item. So if you really want to learn, you want to do that. There's some softwares out there that can use and to help you do some research. Some are very they work very specific for certain platforms. Like Amazon has some, others just are for e-commerce, where it will do searches for you and will let you know what the top sellers are and which variations maybe are selling best. And that's kind of what I lean to. And believe it or not, I did a lot of secret shopping. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I did a lot of secret shopping. I did a lot of phone calls and a lot of add to carts to see how companies what their process is, in order to help the clients, convert. But I call a lot of companies sometimes with problems. Hey, I like this product, but I wish you could do this, and I learn a lot from that process too. I think secret shopping is something I learned in my past industries that teaches you a lot. I don't know if that answer your question.
Yeah, that was good. So what were some other products that you considered doing?
Well, we knew we parking lot this squat rack, and we knew the idea in the beginning was we'll get to it, but let's start from the smaller. And after doing some research, we realized that there's this one product that is selling a lot. This A-frame vertical rack for storage for dumbbells, and we started doing some research on that, and we're like, okay, this will be easy to get into market because a lot of companies are not bidding against it for marketing, so it's easier to get into the market in that way. It's less expensive, and that's when we decided to build to go into that category. We started with 3 racks, 3 different sizes, a 5-tier very small rack that we call Charlie, second tier that we call Bravo, that's also a 5-tier but made for bigger dumbbells, and then an 8-tier that we call Alpha, all made for regular hex dumbbells type. So that's where it started. But then in building some prototypes and letting some people test it, we started to learn a lot from it. And one of the things that became very, very, very clear in the beginning is we need to be able to add accessories to this. This can not only store dumbbells, it has to do more than that. And then we created a landmine, barbell holder, plate holder, later introduced a barbell rope attachment, a battle rope, I'm sorry, attachment. And this was really that first accessory after the initial 3 that we introduced were ideas of clients. Clients started to buy our product, and then we'll get ideas. Oh, you guys should design something like this for it and add it to it. So although the research started with the client, but then the innovation really grew with the clients. As we started to sell some of the product, and let me tell you, the first 3 months in 2022, we don't really consider that as we were in the market yet. We hardly really sold anything. It wasn't until January of 23 that we really went to market. You say? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that first month, we knew that this was that there was a good product. our return rate, Jake, is less than 0.5% for our product. We really don't get returns. Or yeah.
Yeah, if I may, one of the initial conversations that we're having at first is we want to create an experience from day one. So we actually took a lot of time and effort to the packaging of it. We always brought it to the innovation of what do people experience when they're opening up an iPhone box. So again, we thought about even to that extent. And at this point in time, we actually produce our own boxing in-house. We produce it, wrap it. So all that innovation, we take it a step further, and we want to create that experience from day one. Now, of course, sometimes let's say our logistics partners are throwing them around, and sometimes they don't get there as precise as possible. But we understand how they the logistics portion of it. We want to make sure that it's durable. That's why, to his point, the return rate is really low. And if it is, that there is where we act upon it quick if there's a damage within the package that could have happened in shipping. So we're really, really proactive. Number one, making sure that it doesn't happen, and in those few where it does, it's just react upon it right away.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. You know what, Jake? The one thing that really became clear since day one until now is that customers really have been the drivers of our ideas and what we have done. Maybe in the beginning, we needed to find out what we wanted to be, but we knew we wanted to not just build some storage racks. That's not the idea. We want to build an ecosystem of all these different items that work with one another and can expand and grow. So we started with 3 racks, and soon after that, I remember our first rack that we introduced after the initial ones. It was the Alpha Elite, which is a 5-tier vertical rack for dumbbells heavier than 50 pounds, from 50 to 100, 120 pounds. And we created that. We didn't think that there was a need for it. But then the clients started asking. People will order the 8-tier, and then they will like, what do I do with my 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 pounds? What do you have for it? And we went with our engineer. We started testing some things and prototyping some things. We wanted to make sure it was safe and it was steady and it was strong. And then we came up with the Alpha Elite. That because the clients asked for it. Then they asked for something taller. Can you do something that's 5 to 50? I have a whole set of dumbbells, 5 to 50 pounds. And then we tried different things. That one was a little tricky because it was so tall that it wasn't stable. So we needed to make some changes. We eventually did. We introduced that to market. Man, and the price point, I was like, man, I don't know if it's going to sell at this price point, but man, it's one of our best sellers today. Is one of our best sellers. And each one of the vertical racks that we've developed, we have developed also an expansion kit to expand it to a horizontal rack. And one of the coolest things that we have experienced is seeing customers that purchase an Alpha 8-tier vertical rack, and a year later, they're now buying an expansion kit because now they have more stuff. Now they need a horizontal rack. Or maybe they moved and they didn't have space for a horizontal back then, but now they do, and they don't have to waste that initial investment. It's the coolest thing. You'll have to see it. The vertical rack, it actually comes apart, and all of the parts then come together with the expansion kit that we send, and then it all comes together as a horizontal rack. You could never tell that it used to be a vertical rack.
You actually see one right behind us.
Yeah. What you see behind is not in market yet. We're about to introduce it, and we can talk a little bit about it in a second. But
yeah, I mean, I see what you're talking about. Very, very interesting. And everything you've mentioned just seems. And I know there were a few things that popped up, but everything seems very well thought out. So I'd be very curious to hear, and I don't know, Chris, if you were quite there yet, but in terms of like getting the word out when you first went to market in the beginning of 2023, what did that look like?
That was we were definitely naive back in the day. I remember when we first launched, we called it a launch, but it was simply just letting the site go live, and we were expecting traffic to start coming in, but it was crickets, right? That's why we disregard those first several months. It really started for us in January 2023, and like Alex mentioned, the biggest challenge has been the education portion, educating home gym owners that this isn't just a glorified A-frame with an aesthetic redesign, right? It does so much more than that. And so when we were in college, my wife and I, we would take time frames to fly out for a week when we didn't have class. And for a full week, we're just here getting content the whole time so that we're set for the next 3 to 4 months. And that was a challenge in and of itself, because with so limited amount of content, we had to articulate this message that not many people could understand from the get-go, right? And so initially that process was really hard, but now being here full time and getting all the content that we need, and we've really nailed down what we're trying to get across to the consumer. I think that we've overcome that hurdle, so it's been a pretty interesting process.
Yeah, that was a challenge. We'll get comments. People will say, "Oh, it's just an A-frame," and we're like, "No, it's not an A-frame. It looks like an A-frame, but it's not just an A-frame." And that has been trying to educate people that it's multifunctional and expandable. Besides the space-saving feature of it, it has been, but it's catching on now. Now it's catching on. Now we see comments on Reddit and in other social media where we see people go and say, when people are asking, where do we go? I'm looking to store my dumbbells. Oh, you got to go to Synergy Custom Fitness. They have the best storage. And so to see that from clients without that we don't really know, we don't really have any contact with or anything on their own, it is just absolutely fulfilling to see coming together.
I think a moment for us that was really eye-opening was when we went to Home Gym Con. I think that was the first time where we actually got in front directly with the consumers, with the home gym owners, and people just started telling us like, "Yeah, we've seen your ads. We know exactly who you guys are," and we're like, "Oh my goodness, like this is pretty real that people are really starting to recognize us and the brand and the products." And so I mean, we owe a big thanks to you as well for putting that together. So
yeah,
that was a game changer.
What types of things were they saying?
I mean, just mainly the fact that they're seeing us everywhere. That was, I think, the biggest the reoccurring pattern there is that, I mean, you guys are everywhere on our feed, and I felt like, me as taking charge of marketing, I felt like a proud dad. I'm like, this is awesome to be able to see this. Just coming out of college and then having this amazing experience and being able to build a brand from the ground up. That was kind of surreal being over there at Home Gym Con.
I'll tell you. I'll give you a highlight. We had one of the bigger companies right in front of us while we were there at Home Gym Con, and one of the guys that were working there came up to us. This was Titan Fitness, and he's like, "Man, love your product," and then mentioned to us that their CEO actually ordered our product for his home gym. I was like, "What?" Yeah, and that was pretty cool. And then and then there was another one from another company that came to us and who wanted to take one of our racks home with him. There was another company too that also came up to us that said, another bigger company who I think you recently visited, and they're like, "Yeah, we've heard about you guys, we've seen you guys." So That was pretty cool. And it's in such short time because the only reason we didn't go to Home Gym Con the year before is because we really didn't know about it. We were too new in the industry. I mean, we were like 4 or 5 months old, and we really didn't know where to go yet. So it has been an eye opener for us being at Home Gym Con.
Hey, Jake, and if I may, I went in with a different approach, sort of like the entrepreneur mindset. In the industry that I'm in, it's a very cutthroat industry. You know, they're constantly from stealing employees to trying to get clients. It's always again, I'm up for competition. I love it. I love competition. But one thing I did notice in this community, even within other business owners within the community, everyone's willing to help each other out. That's what I love about this. That again, it's competition. It's good, healthy competition. But you know what? You do well. It's like good for you, man. So I see a lot of opportunities in collaboration with other with other companies, organizations, whether it's just selling each other's product, or we have the ability also to manufacture. Again, you never know what's going to happen in the next couple of months. We have the ability to manufacture in-house, so that's another approach that we can take. But I love the community, and most importantly, the relationships that you're able to develop.
That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
One thing we learned at Home Gym Con that was, at least I did, that became very, very clear is the difference between fitness influencers and home gym owners. There's a big difference. And before we went to Home Gym Con, we were trying to do what we thought was the thing to do, is let's find some fitness influencers, and it's great. And we spoke to a few of them, a couple of them did some work for us, and we weren't really getting traction. But then we went to Home Gym Con and we met some people there, and I'm telling you, day to night, these guys are like, you can tell they love the products, they love the space. I'll mention a couple of them because one of them was our client before we even knew that he was involved in the home gym community, and it's Flex Marks the Spot. That guy is awesome, man. He bought our product. He just bought it. He could have called and said, "Hey, I'll review it. Send me one," and we probably would have sent it to him. Who knows? But he just ordered it, and then he just put it a video online, and that was amazing. Talking about amazing, Ashley, the amazing, is someone else we met over Home Gym Con. She fell in love with one of our pieces, and she bought it right there. Again, I didn't know who she was then, and I didn't realize the how deep she really is in the community also. And she bought it, and she did a video for us, and and these are individuals that we realize that they're almost like family, and Home Gym Con really helped us kind of open our eyes and see in that direction that we weren't, as a new company, as a young company, we weren't really our eyes were not open to that yet.
That's great. And just like the general, what I've learned too, and I didn't necessarily expect with Home Gym Con, is just the like general people that go, they are the types of people that will help spread the word about your product. So you mentioned like Reddit and there's Facebook groups. They're the types of people that will say, "Oh, we tried this. This might be a good option for you too." Yeah, we really are just, I don't know if it's just very, very nice people, or people just want to be able to showcase the knowledge that they have, or maybe a combination of both. But yeah, I think the home gym community is not necessarily like your typical influencers that are just being paid to promote stuff, without actually like giving good feedback.
You're right, and you're right. There are nice people, and they're willing to help. But I also think that one of the differences is you can tell there are people that they breathe and live, and they're passionate about what they're doing.
It's like their main hobby.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. Yes. So
Cool. Yep. Did you find that among your 2 months of research, or was that you had to learn that in person?
I learned that in person, man. I had no idea. I thought that, let's just find some influencers, fitness influencers, but that didn't work. We tried a few. That did not really do much for us.
And the cool thing that we learned as well, after Home Gym Con, we decided to actually start getting into Facebook groups. I don't know why we didn't do this any sooner, but just to kind of get a feel of the community, where they're at, the talking points, and it's really cool now to be able to see what they're talking about, and then even going and just seeing our products pop up in these communities, and people are asking, hey, like, anybody has this, anybody can give me some feedback, blah blah. So that's also been really awesome to see just the community, like you said, they want to kind of share their knowledge, and it's cool to also be part of that and then see them sharing their knowledge on our products. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, man. I think I really believe that if you take care of the community is going to take care of you, and that's really what the case here with the home gym community. And it's a home gym community, specifically. So that really has served as a confirmation, at least to me, that we are in the right space. Because this is also how we are. We are the type of people too that, we will reach out, we will work with someone else, and this is how we treat our customers. Sometimes we get customers, there was a guy, it's a funny story. So we do a giveaway. Well, we used to do these giveaways, and we do this one giveaway, and we use this app to choose, random winners, right? So we give a rack away if they follow us and mention us and things like that, like a lot of companies do. And we chose the app chooses this one guy, and he receives our rack, but then he's got these rubber coated dumbbells from Rep. The handles are a little bit narrow, they're more narrow than normal, and he's all over our site. They need at least 5 inches of space in their handles to fit. But it was a giveaway. He got it, and unfortunately, he said it wouldn't work for him. I think 24 hours went by before we got a call. I got a chance to call him myself, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna work with my engineer. We're gonna redesign those so we can send you a set. And you know what he said? He's like, well, I didn't think it was gonna work, and I didn't think you would do anything, so I just gave them to my neighbor. I'm like, you just gave them away? You gave the rack away for free? Yeah, I just gave it to my neighbor. I think that speaks about the type of people we have. Anyone else will like, I'm just gonna sell this, man. I got it for free. I'm gonna make money off of it. Just gave it to your neighbor, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Why did you want it to begin with? Oh, because I wanted a horizontal rack. That's what I want. I'm gonna give you a horizontal rack. Just because that's the type of people that we are now encountering. But that's the type of people we are too. Now that we're giving away the house, but and it turns after all of this, it turns out that it's someone that you actually know. Eric
Eccles. Eric Eccles? In
no.
No? Eric.
Carp team, I think it is.
Oh, Eric Carp. Yep. Sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy.
And again, we just, I don't know how, we just got connected somehow, and then, what the nicest guy, and those are the kind of people in the community that we have kind of got introduced to, because I know it started because of Home Gym Con.
Very cool. Well, let's go back to the story. So you kind of mentioned you launched early 2013. I'd be curious to hear like a very brief timeline of like how the last 2 years have gone and where are you at as a company today?
I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah. So our soft kickoff, when our site went live was really September 15th. Um, Prior to that, this last 6 months before that, it was just really just researching. We weren't trying to sell anything. We were just trying to
September 2023.
22.
22.
And we were just trying to find our identity, our values, our mission, what is it that we wanted to do. And it really took all of 2022. So we didn't really go to market with anything until January of 23. That's when we really, Chris started with the marketing and we started really selling the product. 2023 was a good year for us. I will say, maybe without going into too many specifics, we sold about a couple thousand racks, and we were surprised.
Yeah.
We were very surprised, and that taught us a lot. We learned a lot from that from our first year. And we learned what our pain points were as far as manufacturing, and we learned that it's not easy to offer 11 different colors without making any changes in the prices. And we're still committed to that right now, but that's not easy. It's not easy to offer 11 different colors. We learned that year one but we also learned that is very valuable to the clients. Clients want options, and home gym owners specifically, they have their own space, and a lot of them are very particular into what they really want, the combination, the colors that they want. So we feel that not only we want to stay in that space as far as the 11 colors, but we probably want to introduce new colors. And we get requests all the time for new colors. That was 2023. And then this year so far, last I looked, I think we have grown almost 300% compared to our first year, year over year. Right now, we're seeing month over month. We see between 15 to 20% growth almost. Some months just kind of stagnant. Well, let me say quarter over quarter. Okay, we definitely see 15 to 20% increase, and that's really thanks to the community.
It's pretty amazing how they go line in line as far as both quarters, 22 and 23. 23, now 24. Your peaks are typically the same time as your valleys go at the same time. So it's amazing to try to find that understanding on what causes the peaks, what causes the valleys, and now as far as I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I see it too. Just summer is like way lower. Is that what you're seeing too? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Go.
From a marketing perspective, from my end, I mean, that last year's data, the history has been, crucial for helping us scale this year. Because if we look at the trends, we can look at the time frames, the valleys and the mountains, and then we can make decisions off of that. Smarter decisions, educated decisions. Last year we were kind of just, throwing a dart in the dark at the bullseye and we're kind of hoping for the best, and it worked out great. But this year we're making better decisions, and next year, we're hoping to make even better decisions. So it's been pretty amazing.
I think the challenge that we've had just recently is the cost of the marketing itself, especially going into the election. The cost per click has been, extremely high. So I get on Chris a lot. What's going on, man? So yeah, those are I think they're temporary challenges. We're just trying to get through it. And obviously now going into Black Friday and going into January are typically months that I think that we can target and be, for lack of a better word, aggressive in our production, so we can be able to produce and commit to our timelines as best as possible. That's one of the things. Again, taking care of your customers with timeline, cost, execution, and the quality control.
Yeah, and you know what? If I can add, we have been very intentional on the pace that we want to grow at, because we want to be responsible at the same time. Um, in July, 4th of July, we had a promo, and no, Memorial. We had a promo, and oh my gosh, we were getting more orders than we anticipated, and that kind of created a bottleneck for us, and it kind of put us in a predicament where we had to email some of our clients and let them know that there was some delay, and we made some adjustments, and but right now, really, the only way that, or the one way that we're keeping up right now with the growth, is that we're making every product to order. So when an order comes in, we go into production with it and powder coating, and because of that, we don't ship it within 24 hours or 48 hours. We have kind of a little bit of a longer timeline, and we're always looking for ways to shorten that timeline, because we know that clients want it too, but we don't want to really cut corners in that process. We don't want to the quality of the product to hurt, because we're trying to sell more products faster, if that makes sense. So as we grow, as sales grow, the entire company has to grow. Production has to grow. Fulfillment needs to grow. Every part of it needs to grow. And if you don't grow with it, you'll hit a wall, and it will affect your customers. And that's one part that we really don't want to get to. So because of it, we're being very intentional on how fast we want that growth to happen.
Makes sense. Where would you say where? It's probably hard to like define into words, but where are you at today? Do you feel like you're in a good spot? You could talk about the specific products you offer, or I'm not sure. I'm asking this question in a terrible way, but how are you feeling today about your business?
Let me just start off, and you guys can probably jump into this right away. I think what's our innovation, there's a lot of things that are in our minds that need to go out. I think that needs to go out quicker. It's extremely important that there's a lot of ideas that we have right now that can be game changers, and they will be game changers. So right now, I think we need to execute that a little quicker, be able to get to market the ideas, the innovations that we have within our market, within our existing designs. I think that's probably, for me, I think one of the Achilles heel where we need to jump into these things a little quicker.
Yeah, we're in a good place, but we're not where we want to be yet. We know that for our product to have the value that we know it has, we need to continue to build that ecosystem around all of our product line, and that takes time. We started with 3, and now we're about 24 different products, and all these products complement each other. So we are in the process right now of enhancing our horizontal racks. So we currently offer 2 horizontal racks. The Alpha, which is a 3-tier, about 50 inches tall, and the Bravo, which is a 2-tier, is about 32 inches tall. And both of them come in either 40-inch wide or 43 or 70. I'm sorry, 43 or 70. But in listening to our clients and in doing some more research, we've noticed there's an opportunity, because there isn't a whole lot of one-post horizontal racks in the market that are about that height of 50 inches that have more than 3 tiers. So when we're thinking about one of our main pillars, which is develop products that are save space, how do we make the horizontal rack even more space saving? Well, we did that first by attaching the vertical racks to the sides. You can see it behind, right? Really, what that does, it adds another tier, but going vertically. So if you have a 3-tier rack and you add 2 vertical holders on the ends, it's like you have a 5-tier rack. But how can we even improve it? How can we add more? So we just redesigned the original brackets that we made for the horizontal rack, and we are about to introduce soon that very same rack of 50 inches. Instead of 3-tier, we're going to offer it with also 4 tiers. That's going to give even more space. So if you think about the 4 tiers plus the 2 tiers on the side, is like having 6 tiers on a horizontal rack on a either 43 or 70-inch width. The rack you see behind is another one that we are soon going to introduce too. That one is going to be an expansion of the Delta rack, which is the 10-tier vertical rack. That one's about 70 inches tall. And that one's going to be a 4-post rack, and it's going to have 6 horizontal tiers. Now, you can get it with 4, with 5, or with 6. Plus, you're going to be able to add 4 vertical attachments for dumbbells on the sides. So if you add all of that together, you can have 4 vertical racks plus 6 tiers. That's like having a 10-tier horizontal rack on the same footprint of a traditional 70-inch horizontal rack. Yeah. So that's soon to come. We are working on an addition. That one, I don't think we're ready to talk on the details on that one, but we are working on something else for the horizontal to add even more space to it. That's going to be game changer. I haven't seen a single company with this on their rack. And it's going to be able to help home gym owners or commercial really take care of all those loose items and be able to put them away and kind of clean the home gym.
And how did you come up with these ideas? Are most of these from customer requests like you mentioned earlier, or is it just from like looking at home gym stuff online?
That's a good question. So 2 things come to mind. Have you ever gone to bed when you can't go to sleep and your mind just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going? Yeah. And then in the middle of the night, you have this idea and you have to write it down because you'll forget it if you don't. Some ideas come that way. But most ideas really come by listening to the customers. Listen to the customers and continue to innovate and research. You have to be on top of your game. I think it was Rich that said it in your last podcast. You have to know your competition better than they know themselves, right? And that is true. You have to be on top of the game. You have to spend so much time researching and looking, and I'm not gonna lie, a little prayer helps too, for some inspiration, and you'll be surprised some of the things that will come to your mind, and because of clients or because of ideas or because you're putting yourself out there researching and looking, then the ideas will come. So a lot of the ideas come like that. A lot of trial and error too. We tried some stuff that then we were like, oh, what were we thinking? So yeah, I personally make a lot of calls to a lot of our clients. Hey, how do you like our product? What do you wish was different about our product? What would you add to it if you could? And you'll be surprised how many great ideas are out there in the market.
I must say, a lot of the times they're surprised that we're calling. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I wonder how many companies actually do that. I bet less than 10%. Yeah. I'd be curious to hear, so one thing that, I've been in the home gym scene for a while, and what a lot of people have, like, random amounts of equipment, and a lot of people get handy and they create very custom storage solutions for dumbbells, kettlebells, anything. So it's not necessarily like always a one size fits all. Have you guys thought about doing any sort of custom work, as far as like creating custom pieces with custom amounts? Thinking about like, oh, that might even give us even more product ideas, considering what kind of custom ideas come in mind, come through, I should say. Just like, is that something you're capable of with your manufacturing?
Well, I mean, I gave you the example on receiving the call from the Florida Panthers. That was similar to, they gave us 2 or 3 hybrids from different companies, and we want to get all these 3 elements into one. Again, it took a few weeks back and forth, tweaking back and forth, and also getting the right color because it's a custom color. But absolutely, I think we never want to get too big that we can't cater to a customer. Again, I think that's our strength. That's my background, and I think that's their background as well, is customer driven. And in that case, being able to use their, and like to your point, you see them build things out of wood, just in their home shop, and I'm like, man, that's a great idea. We can incorporate that. Absolutely. If there's anyone out there that wants to put their idea out there, give us a call, because again, we have that ability. We can put their product into a draft, engineer it, prototype it, and work to a point where we think it's safe, we think it's valuable, and to their point, they can collaborate with us. So absolutely, that's a point that I think it could be beneficial for all of us.
And to your point, a lot of our products have been born because of that. I'll give you an example. People get asking for, kettlebells are the foster child in the home gym, right? They always end up on the floor, not a whole lot of solutions for them there. And people kept asking, hey, could you make something vertical for kettlebells? Yeah, we can. And then, so a few phone calls. What were you thinking? I mean, if you ask why, do you have something in mind? Have you seen something you like? We really don't want to copy. We don't want to copy a product. We want to make our own product, and we want to be unique about what we do. And if we're going to, for example, a horizontal rack is a horizontal rack, but how can we innovate this product? And that's when we added the vertical racks on the side, and that's what, and we're about to add more to it. But going back to the kettlebell, they kept asking for it, and make some phone calls, did some research. Look for the competition, see what they're doing, what ideas are there. There may be some good ideas already. We want to make sure we don't infringe into anyone's ideas. And the vertical rack that we currently have that was introduced, 2.5 months ago, was born because of clients. And then as we're making it, this is a vertical rack with shelves that could completely be moved to whatever position you want. And but then when we're designing the shelving for it, is we have to design it so it also fits our other units. So it also fits the horizontal rack. So if you want to get a rack like the one behind, but you don't want more dumbbell storage on the ends, but you want to put plates, you can do that. Or you want shelves for kettlebells, you can do that to this and put all your kettlebells on the ends and all your dumbbells inside. That product was really born because of that. Someone wanted one. We start playing with it and designing it, and then we perfect it. We sent some for some testing and some feedback, and then that's how most of our products come up. And After we designed our product, we just one of our projects went live on the site about a week ago. We decided to, well, let's just make a hybrid vertical rack for kettlebells and plates. So it's like a plate tree, but it's not a plate tree. But you can mix it. You can have plates and some kettlebells, and you can decide how many tiers you want of plate and how many tiers you want of kettlebells. That's kind of the flexibility that we want to, and the ecosystem we want to show our clients. And all of those racks can then eventually convert or expand into the next thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so that was already on your radar. What about, you mentioned earlier collaborations. I'd be curious to hear, like, I don't know if you want to name specific companies, but who would be a great collaborator with you, or how would they collaborate with you? And then also from your end, you mentioned that, you know, you can help them with certain manufacturing details or products. Could you elaborate on both of those ideas?
Yeah.
Well, on the manufacturing side, if I may, again, something like Rich mentioned, and we go back to Rich because that was most recent, the most recent podcast that we listened to. There's a product he also talked about, you know, making sure that it's made in the USA. Products that for lack of a better word, competitor that is having trouble producing it themselves because they don't have the capacity, or they don't want to import it again from China or from overseas, and we can produce it for them. We definitely have that capability. It's just a matter of getting a better understanding of, you know, what not just what they're producing, what their volume is, their expectations. Because again, when we collaborate like that, we want to make sure we come through, because we're going to treat it like it's our product. So that collaboration has to be mutual, and our values have to align up. The values, what we're creating, as Carlos mentioned, the ecosystem, which is space saving. So there is a company out there that does have that same methodology, space saving, just that it's racks. And again, that can be a possibility down the line, because I don't think we're in the business of also providing dumbbells or plates. So that's something that we can offer as well, kind of like through our website. That can be another possible collaboration. But I can let Carlos expand. He's a little more knowledgeable with that.
People, and we tested this, right? We got some plates. If you go to our site, you see some bumper plates there. We didn't make them, obviously. You know, we have to get those made out and bring them in, and it's the same bumper plates. I can tell you, it is the same maker for the bumper plates as making them for just about everybody. And so you end up really selling the same product. So we also made a very intentional decision that we just don't want to be in that space. But because, I mean, as of right now, we don't want to be in that space. And going back to Alex's book earlier, the Blue Ocean Strategy, we want to stay in our space and be the best we can in our space. And if there's someone out there who has really good dumbbells and good plates and good bars and good kettlebells, we would love to collaborate with them and sell their stuff. And they can fulfill it. And our clients come all the time and they buy our racks. And one of the most asked questions is, how come you guys don't have dumbbells? I want to buy dumbbell. I need dumbbells too, and I need plates and this and this. So, and we refer them out to 2 or 3 companies out there that we send them to. They don't know we're doing that. We just do it just to help the client. There's no link or nothing really of that sort. But we would love to work with some of the companies. We had a chance to had a brief conversation with Titan when we were at Home Gym Con. We also had a conversation with PRX, a very brief conversation with them when we were there. Rep will be a great company to collaborate. These are companies that are really good at what they do, and have some of the products that we don't have, and they go hand to hand with our products. So to kind of form a collaboration with them for that purpose alone, I think will be beneficial to the two of us. like Alex said, I love PRX idea of saving space. That's kind of their thing, and that's kind of our thing too. Trying to develop products that will save space. Back at home during COVID, everyone was growing their home gym, and I was one of those too. And one of the racks that I bought was one of their foldable racks from PRX. And that's the rack of my home right now. Have a profile rack there. But so yeah, those we'll open and absolutely welcoming of the idea of maybe working with some companies and see how we can help one another.
Cool. So basically 2 years later, I'd be curious to hear what 2 years later, and it seems to be you're on a good track. If you had to like make a few bullet points, what specifically have you done right?
I think Carlos did mention is staying with what we know, and staying within the blue ocean strategy. For those that are not familiar, blue ocean, an ocean is considered a red ocean. You got sharks there that are trying to feed off the same customer base. Creating a blue ocean is going outside your existing client base or the existing client base and creating your own ocean or your own lane of products. So I think, and again, I'm probably one of the ones that they've had to slow me down. I was let's get that squat rack out there. Let's get it out there, and they've had to tone me down. No, let's again, eventually we can get there, but it has to go with our process. It just can't be a standalone product, because again, it's just going to be another $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 rack, whatever the case may be. As you probably noticed with the picture, again, it's heavy duty steel. It's well made. I mean, there's a junkyard right next to us, and I was telling them, man, I'm willing to take it out there, and they'll drop like 3 cars on top of it, and the cars will probably like break into pieces. That's how strong it is. But again, staying within our lane, staying within our product base, and growing in a manner that we can still take advantage of our growth, but still take care of our clients. Again, that has to go hand in hand, because sometimes it does happen that you just blow up, grow too quickly, and then you leave the customer behind. We just can't do that. And again, we're positioned in a way that I feel that if we do get, again, we blow up in the next 6 months to a year, I feel that we're positioned properly, that we can keep up with that. Again, things can change, but I really think we're in a good space. We're growing in a very healthy manner, and I feel that we should be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to come our way. And again, if we get a call from someone that is interested in collaborating with us, whether selling our products or us producing their products or selling their products, I think we can do that.
I think something that we did right was never becoming stagnant. And what I mean by that, if we stopped at the first 3 products that we made, which was just the Charlie, the Bravo, and the Alpha, we would not be where we're at today. Listening to the customers' feedback and then hearing the innovative ideas that they've had has really allowed us to scale. Every new product that we've added eventually just ends up overtaking the next and becomes the best seller. And this has really allowed us to continue to grow. So I think on my end, I think that's really something that we've done right.
Yeah, it's been tough to fight the temptation to jump in the red ocean. It is tough to not end up selling everything. But we made that intentional decision that we want to stay within our blue ocean, and we want to be the best at what we do. So there's nothing that can protect you better. No patents in the world. There's no attorney can protect you. Nothing can protect you better than just flat out be the best at what you do, make the best possible product, and give the best support to your clients, and that will protect you better than anything. Now that those things, the other things are not important, but I think that's really important. And Jake, you know, we so Synergy Custom Fitness, we're not a big team. We are a young company and we're a small team. I mean, we really have 5-6 guys that work in fulfillment. And we're a total team of maybe 9 people, 10 people. That's it. Now, Synergy Custom Fixtures, which is a company that Alex owns, that really we kind of lean to for all of the production, is a bigger company, and but we operate in the same space. But Synergy Custom Fitness is its own company, and we are growing our own space. So, and I say that because to those listening, customers listening, you know, we are very passionate about what we do. Every order that we pack, you know, I'm always out there telling the guys, hey, you know, pack it like if you're shipping it to yourself. Like if you just bought it and it's for you. I mean, these guys are wiping the stuff off before it goes into the box, making sure it's nice and shiny. And then we give it to the shipping carriers, and then not to say a name, and then we cross our fingers and hope that they treat it as well as we would treat it. And sometimes it's a challenge. I'll be honest with you. In this industry, sometimes it's a challenge. But whenever there is an issue that occur in transit, we always pick up the phone. We always answer. We always help our customers, because the expectation, they just bought a brand new product, they should receive a brand new product. And if they don't, we'll do the best we can within our reach to try to make it okay for them. But for the most part, we really don't have a lot of issues like that. And the customers, really, I will have to say, in this industry are some of the best. So anyway, anything else?
Nope.
Got it. Just one last topic. You know, one thing I almost mentioned earlier when we were discussing the community is I think we value companies that are here for like the long run. They really care, and they want to grow the right way, and you know, they still want to be here in 10 years. They're focused on growing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just like, since we're growing our home gyms we're growing our home gyms over time, we like to follow companies over time. I don't know. I just think that's something that we appreciate, the long-term investment and interest in the community. With that, you know, I'd be curious to hear, how do you see the home gym space evolving over the next 5 to 10 years, and how does Synergy fit into that?
Well, the home gym space has evolved. I mean, ever since, I don't want to date myself, but going back when I was 18, 19 years old, you know, you were used to going to the gym and Gold's Gym, and again, just seeing the Mr. Olympic, the men. And then as time has gone by, you know, women have taken over the industry as well. So that's one of the things that we've got to make sure that we cater to both men and women alike. The growth, we see it growing month to month, and I don't see it slowing down. It doesn't matter how many gyms are out there. I think the passion that people have it's kind of like the passion that people have with their own cars. You know, the way they take care of their gyms, it's pretty amazing. And just to your point, there's that loyalty, and when they see it reciprocate back to them, how we are loyal to our clients as well, it goes hand in hand. Again, we're here for the long run. There is only growth in front of us. And I really don't see anything that can hinder that process, but I guess another pandemic, but maybe another pandemic would help us, because again, that would allow us to grow even more. But I don't see any slowing down in the home gym community. As a matter of fact, I only see it growing and growing even greater.
Yeah, when we first started this and started developing all these products, we did it with the home gym owners in mind. That was it. We were thinking they were the only people that are going to buy our product. And then we were surprised how much the commercial space was interested in our product. So, and we have a lot of gyms that use our product. Even the vertical racks, because they use it to set up stations. And then they have one with a dumbbell and a landmine and bands, and then they have different people doing it. But I see a mix of the two, home gyms and the commercial spaces, almost coming together. I see more people commercializing the home gym industry with time. I don't know if you agree with that, but you'll be surprised. So many of the people that buy our product that I talk to, they're actually home gym owners, but they're like, no, I've got people that come in and they pay me and I train them, and there's so many of those already out there. So it's almost like a hybrid. It's not commercial, it's not home gym fully, it's a mix of the two. I think that's where kind of home gyms are heading, at least part of them. And I think our product fits well with that. And to your earlier comment, I think our value proposition really becomes more valuable as we set our footing in the market even stronger. As we stay here longer, our value proposition has more of a value because as time goes by, and now 2 years, 3 years, people that bought from us before, now they've grown. Okay, now I need a horizontal rack I couldn't afford a year and a half ago, or I didn't have the space for. That's what, if we're not here tomorrow, then the value proposition doesn't work. It only works, we have to be here, have the ecosystem for them available when they need it. And that could be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. So the plan is to be here for years to come.
Awesome.
I just think that, like Alex and probably was saying, I mean, the home gym community is only going to continue to grow and get bigger. And long story short, we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. And like he was saying, it's really cool to see what was once just a concept, now becoming a reality. People coming back and growing their racks. I think it's pretty incredible to see. And I think our products and what we strive to do is just to give the home gym owners peace of mind when they're purchasing this piece of equipment, right? You don't have to worry about, what if I get a rack that I'm not going to need to use in the next 6 months, right? And it also gives you a peace of mind because now you have the space to purchase that specialty machine that you wanted but didn't have space for. And so as we continue to grow and as the home gym community continues to grow, like he said, just what we provide and the value provide will just only solidify even more.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think if you can save space with something that I thought that was a perfect thing that you said, where like find the things that you can save space so you can make the gym you want. Yeah, makes sense. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Carl. Sorry.
We know that storage is not the exciting thing that people cannot wait. Their budget, their money goes to all these other things first, and it should. For obvious reasons, I understand that, but we know that there is a big need for it, and we're here for that. We wanted to continue to grow, and we want to continue to innovate, and that's a big part of one of our core values is to continue to innovate by listening to our customers. Right now the market is really big on is asking for what are these things called? The adjustable dumbbells. Yes, I know you're an adjustable dumbbell guy. And it's very easy to, okay, let's just make something quick, and we don't want to, and there's an opportunity, and some are going to really do well with it. I saw what Dean from Black Widow is putting together. That looks sick. That looks really, really good. And we want to put something together, but it has to fit our ecosystem. It has to fit our ecosystem, and the only way we could do that is by doing some really deep research, listen to our customers, and finding out what is it what is the dream rack for a adjustable dumbbell, and how can we make it multifunctional. And those are the three things. If there's something that I want anyone listening to this to remember, is all of our products, we make them with these three things in mind: space saving, multifunctional, expandable, or modular. Those are the three requirements. So the squat rack that Alex wants, the reason we haven't come up with that to market is because it doesn't meet all those three things. And until it does, we won't come out to market with it. The day you see us come to market with a squat rack is because we were able to do those three things. But it takes a lot of innovation in order to accomplish those things. And sometimes you can't do that for every product. But we want to make sure we have those things: space saving, multifunctional, and expandable. That's our three pillars right there.
Cool. It was great to hear from you guys. Awesome story. Anything else before we go?
I just have a brief question for you, if you don't mind. I mean, you've been around the community. You talk to every company out there. And I'm sure you've learned a lot from having this type of meetings. What is the one attribute you would say that the most successful companies have in common?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen that has kind of taken companies to the next level is, a lot of things I've heard you say. It's number one, not afraid to get in the weeds. So like really dig into customer needs, whether that's like you said, talking with people, or like getting into forums and really figuring out what people are talking about. I think those are ultimately the things that lead to the great products. And then a combination of that and like what I mentioned earlier, the long-term focus on building out your products as opposed to just like figuring out what's hot, selling as many as you can at a time. So I think those are a few things that come to my mind at first. Also just like knowing your core customer and sticking with them, trying to stay in your lane. That's something. Actually caring. So like, very basic things that are, they're still kind of hard to do over time. Takes a lot of patience, a lot of like, you got to like actually want to do it, so I think that's another thing. Like you have to actually like doing this, which it sounds like you guys do. So yeah, the basics really.
Hey guy, I have a question. This is more pertaining to collaborations between companies. What's the most successful collaboration that you've seen between two companies?
Most successful. I mean, one thing that you mentioned earlier was like we can help with little things, or at least that's what I got out of it. You can help with certain products, and then you can also help with like certain pieces. And I'm sure there's a lot more of the like companies getting a piece from here, piece from here, piece from here. So like understanding the specialties that each like smaller manufacturer can do to help put things together. I've heard a lot of that. As far as like certain products, I think the rep times, Pepin, I should say, I think Rogue collabs with more people than you know, and they'll find like small inventors. They don't necessarily like publish it out, but those sorts of things. I think those adjustable dumbbells are probably the top. They're still early on, but I think those have the most potential. So it's really like finding the smaller companies who are behind and helping them reach the masses. I think those are the best ones. But I mean, I think what you mentioned earlier works. I see a lot of like small American manufacturers. Maybe they're making attachments or made in America plates. I think there's a lot of potential for stuff like that if like they can ramp their stuff up, if they can move it quick enough.
Is that a big driving force for what you feel in the community, made in America?
So I have data on that. I think it's like a third of people that are like very focused on made in America. I do think the masses don't really care. They just want the best product that they can get for the value, for the dollar. But I mean, I also think there's other trends. Like, I mean, also like, you know, staying within your lane, a third is still pretty high. You know, it's like a good core people to focus on. I also think there's like, you know, as more home gyms happen, as they're created 3 to 5 years down the road, they start winning like really high quality stuff. So and that's where a lot of the made in America stuff, like more custom pieces that you start adding one at a time. So I think there's a market that's there right now, but I do see it growing, if that makes sense.
We just wanted to say thank you, Jake. We really appreciate you. We appreciate the community. We appreciate all of those that have really trusted us, that have really tried our product and that have fallen in love with our product. And we just want to express our continued commitment to continue to grow our ecosystem, to provide the best possible storage solution for the industry. We're open and you know, we're dedicated to providing the best possible product and customer service for you.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening to that full interview. At the end, I actually lost connection, so I couldn't properly close it. They just kind of winged it at the end, so I appreciated that. But I thought that was a great interview. Very down-to-earth folks who seem like they're doing things the right way. If you want to learn more about them, go ahead and follow them on Instagram. It's just Synergy Custom Fitness, and then also synergycustomfitness.com. I'll plug those into the description of the episode. But thanks again for checking it out.